Africa's second largest oil exporter, Angola, today announced it has exited as a member of the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, or OPEC. The decision by Luanda to quit OPEC was based on the rejection of the lower 1.1 million barrels per day output cap imposed on Angola by the group. Angola's oil minister said the role of his country in OPEC was not deemed relevant any longer. That news has sparked reactions from around the world, in particular the global oil community. A few hours ago, NGI, the executive chairman of the African Energy Chamber based in South Africa, released this short video comment.
The decision by Angola to depart OPEC, it has been shocking to most OPEC members and to the market and other onlookers. But it also sounds as a failure on all of us in this beautiful industry to not be able to work on this together and bring everybody together to have a good solution to a difficult problem that we have right now within the organization. Angola is important to OPEC. Angola is important to Africa. This African giant produces about 1 million barrels of crude oil daily, and that's really important when it comes to market stability. It's really important when it comes to this organization working closely. Yes, baseline issues had an issue to deal with it, so the same issues with Nigeria and Congo, but also we have to reach out better and find solutions to really make this organization to continue going, but also keep the focus on the market. Market stability is so important. We don't want a volatile oil market, and Angola is going to continue to have a role to play in that.
All right, joining me live now from Abuja studios to discuss Angola's breaking news, as well as Nigeria's position in OPEC, including a review of Nigeria's debt effects, investment markets, and more in the outgoing year 2023. We got Kelvin Emmanuel. He's an economist and a market professional. It's great having you on the RS Exchange again tonight. Thank you so much. Give me your first word. Let's start with Angola. Exit as an OPEC member country.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. Compliments of the season to everyone watching from Nigeria and around the world. The decision by Angola is not shocking. Considering Angola is producing currently 1.1 million barrels Sonangol. Angola joined OPEC in 2007. Nigeria joined OPEC on the 12th of July 1971. OPEC was formed on the 14th of September 1960, about 14 days before Nigeria got independence. And when you look at the fact that the likes of Indonesia, the likes of Qatar has left OPEC, and you consider the fact that OPEC members today produce 30.1 million barrels per day of the 93.4 million barrels per day produced globally, I really don't see that today OPEC is not the alter ego of Saudi Arabia. And if you look at the fact that within the same period when they had their June meeting, within the same period where the quotas of Nigeria and Angola were reviewed, Nigeria, understandably so, they were reviewed down, and there were complaints from the Nigeria's representative to OPEC and the Angolan representative to OPEC. The quota of the United Arab Emirates was actually reviewed up at the same meeting, and there were protests. Angola walked away from that meeting. The same issues happened with Qatar in 2019 that prompted the Qataris to leave OPEC. And today, I think Qatar does anywhere around maybe $72 billion in oil and gas revenues, especially gas, LNG, that Qatar has become the second largest producer of globally. I think second or third after Australia and the US, if I'm not mistaken. So it doesn't come to me as a surprise. I absolutely think that what Angola did is the right thing. And I also encourage the Nigerian government to critically assess and look at its role in OPEC. Maybe it has sentimental value, considering Nigeria has been in OPEC since 1971. Maybe that's the reason why it's finding it difficult to leave OPEC. But I'll be honest with you when I tell you that OPEC today has no relevance, considering that non-OPEC members currently produce about 63.3 million barrels of crude oil daily in declaration of cooperation, the likes of the US, which is currently the largest producer ahead of Saudi Arabia. I think we have the likes of Brazil and some other countries that are in the declaration of cooperation. Russia is the main producer also, but you've seen the fact that Russia's crude oil, because of the sanctions on the Russian government and the financial system. A lot of Russian crude actually goes into transshipment in the Indian Ocean. And that's one reason why the crude oil feedstock exported from Nigeria to India has reduced, and instead that volume has been diverted to European countries like the Netherlands. So it doesn't come to me as a shock. I think it's the right thing Angola did.
Yeah, you talk about this, describing the optics around Angola's exit from OPEC. For Nigeria as a member of OPEC, you said Nigeria should review that. How do you think, what do you make of it if Nigeria decides to exit OPEC as well? Where does that leave Nigeria in terms of its oil production, in terms of its being part of the global oil marketplace? It's just gone into a non-OPEC member and joined that side of the street rather than OPEC.
I don't know if the president of Nigeria is reading the room, considering he's the Minister of Petroleum, and the Minister of State is not the substantive Minister of Petroleum. But if he's reading the room, the president of Nigeria will realize that, listen, Nigeria's oil and gas strategy, considering that Port Harcourt's Trans 5 has just come alive. Port Harcourt and Dangote is testing. It's going to start delivering next month. If he's reading the room, he'll realize that Nigeria's oil strategy is shifting. And it's shifting from the era of where you export your crude, in that your joint venture production sharing contracts out for FX revenue is shifting to you, first of all, have the obligation based on PIA 2021 to supply your modular and commercial refineries in Nigeria before you supply outside Nigeria. Look, Dangote just received the second 1 million barrels. It was supposed to be 6 million that he's due to get between, in that crude oil supply agreement between December and January. He's received 2 million so far. In January, I expect he's going to receive another 2 million to make it 4. So if they are struggling, if the joint venture partners are struggling to provide Dangote with the feedstock he needs, that 6 million barrels is not going to be enough for more than 11 days production, based on the fact that he's going to be doing, the 4 million is not going to be more than 11 days, based on the fact that he's going to be doing about 350,000 barrels per day. If they are struggling to provide the off-takers in Nigeria, what international market are we talking about? Look, Nigeria needs to understand that the future of its oil industry, and I've said this before, is dependent on you being able to secure your markets in Nigeria. And I'll tell you why. Your energy basket takes about $2.4 billion per month. Nigeria's total import on a yearly basis is about $65 billion. Your energy basket takes about 43% of your total imports on a yearly basis. So if you're planning to do backward integration through import substitution and ensure that you don't import these products anymore, then the obligation is for the Nigerian government to actually ensure that it can provide all the crude oil feedstock that the refiners in Nigeria need, since they are buying the crude oil in USD anyway, to be able to produce and secure your energy basket, which takes 43% of your total imports on a yearly basis. So I don't see the reason why OPEC is so much of a priority, considering that even the excess net production volumes you have on a daily basis can actually be sold in the energy markets in that declaration of cooperation window, the DOC.
So oil is the underbelly for the Nigerian economy. So I'm looking at the country's fiscal balance sheet for this year, for where you get that very juicy FX inflow, as it were. So what do you see for 2024 in terms of how we go from here, whether Nigeria remains in OPEC or not, or follows the footsteps of Angola, and what the outlook is for oil production? Because again, Angola is kicking 1.1 million barrels down the road. Some folks, the new NNPC chairman says he's looking at about 2 million barrels per day next year. What do you think this will help Nigeria to achieve? What do you think will happen next year?
Look, the NNPC chairman said that he's targeting 2 million barrels per day. It's a very lofty target. It's going to be very exhilarating and a relief in some way to the FX market, the non-autonomous FX market, if they can achieve that target, considering that NNPC has crude oil forwards obligation it has to deliver to international trade partners, and then the net will come in as FX revenues to the FAC through CBN sales at the primary auction and secondary market intervention scheme, But in 2024, I expect that with a full backward integration of your imports of your energy imports, which takes anywhere around 43% of your total imports on a yearly basis. I expect that Nigeria's sovereign credit rating is going to be reviewed up, the foreign currency issuer rating for Fitch and Moody's. I also expect that the credit default swaps, and the country risk premium of Nigeria, which I calculate to be anywhere around 16.5% currently, is going to come down, and that is going to be a relief for the Eurobonds market, considering that CDS and country risk premium and equity risk premium and the credit rating, which is currently at CAA1 for Moody's, has a big impact on the ability of the government to raise Eurobonds. And also considering how much Nigeria has to pay in terms of yields and in terms of refinancing costs in 2024 to the Eurobond creditors, I expect that 2024 will be better for one reason. And the reason is because with a full backward integration, which I don't expect to come until 100% backward integration until at least the fourth quarter of 2024, you're going to see improvement in Nigeria's credit position, and it's going to impact on the ability of the government to service its debts. It's going to impact on the rates at which the government is able to float the Eurobond on international debt markets.
Interesting times ahead. Thank you so much. We're wrapping up the year, trying to get a sense of where we are and what happens in the new year. Thank you so much for tonight. Very brief and straight to the point. Straight as an arrow. Thank you. Kelvin Emmanuel, economist and public policy analyst. We thank you as always for those analyses and outlook on Nigeria. Have a great evening.